So, exactly how well does a Sony phone from 1 year ago stack up against Samsung's flagship phone from this year? Let's go and find out. So, we got the Sony Xperia performance against the Samsung Galaxy S8 Plus. Now, the X Performance is a flagship phone. However, Sony did come out with a few other phones since that time. So, last fall they came out with the Sony Xperia XE, and a few weeks ago they came out with the XES. And in a couple of weeks, they're going to come out with XE Premium. Really excited for that phone. Alright guys, so Samsung, of course, winning the boot up here. Sony phones usually not the fastest boot up time, although they are fast in a lot of other areas. Hey guys, not many people making Sony Xperia performance videos anymore. You guys see X Performance up now. But on this channel, of course, like to do Sony videos. It's going to be the main focus. Alright guys, quickly design the phones first. So obviously, larger screen on a Galaxy. Also, do refer to quality, although the X Performance quality is great as well. So on the Galaxy, 6.2 inch screen versus on the Sony, 5 inches. The Galaxy, 529 pixels per inch, Sony 441. Now front-facing camera, do refer to Sony here, 13 megapixels versus 8 for the Galaxy. So on the Sony, you have a metal design. On the Samsung, you have glass. And rear-facing camera, the Sony, 23 megapixels. On the Galaxy, it's 12. And on the Galaxy, you have the home button right here. It has 3D touch, although it's not a physical button. And then on the Galaxy, you have the fingerprint scanner right here. On Sony, it's right here. And on Galaxy, you do have USB Type-C. On the Sony, still micro USB. Sony flagships since this phone have used USB Type-C, but this one's still micro USB. And both of these phones have headphone jacks. Alright guys, so everything goes out on both phones. So first up, the frontal. And I am of course expecting Galaxy to win most of this, especially for the games. So the Galaxy had the Snapdragon 835 processor and 4GB RAM, with the Sony Snapdragon 20 and 3GB RAM. And yeah, Galaxy pretty easily going to win Temperanto. And also notice the screen quality differences here as well. So the Galaxy screen definitely gets brighter, a little bit more vibrant colors. Though I guess the Sony looks a little bit more realistic. Alright, BBC News next. Alright, so slight advantage here for the Galaxy. Actually, I think that was a Sony because Sony wrote up the ad first. But I will write a comment down below. Alright, funny. Alright, interesting. So this one going to Sony. YouTube. Wow, okay, so another one here for the Sony. Calculator. Oops. Second, guys. Calculator and clock, these should be virtually identical. And clock. Mostly the mid-rangers struggle to keep up with that. Alright, eBay next. Wow guys, so another one here for the Sony Xperia performance. Alright, Asphalt 8. Yeah guys, I mean, so Sony phones are extremely well optimized. Sony has a pretty thin layer of their own coding on Android. Whereas Galaxy, obviously, TouchWiz is a lot more intrusive. That said, obviously guys, I still do have Samsung phones. Again, as I mentioned, Sony and Samsung are my two favorite companies for phones. However, that is definitely a downside of Samsung phones. Alright, Samsung winning here. ESPN. Alright, this one going to Samsung as well. Settings. Alright, so that one going to Samsung. Alright guys, so I think obviously Samsung did win the games, but general use apps were pretty split. Alright, so in to-do next, you guys see obviously higher score on the Galaxy, 168,000 versus 146,000. Alright, next up, let's do Chrome. Now the Chrome web browser on X Performance is not lightning quick as it is on the XDS, although it's still very good web browsing. Let's do actually Zelda.com first. Alright, Zelda.com. Alright, so advantage here for the Galaxy. Let's do IMDb. IMDb.com. Alright, so this one going to Sony. Let's do IGN. Alright, this one going to Samsung. And two more, let's do Samsung and then Sony. Samsung.com. Alright, so Samsung here. And let's do Sony.com. Alright guys, so I think web browsing, slight advantage here for the Galaxy, although Sony did win some. Alright, so next up, let's go ahead and do camera speed. And got Kenny here. Alright, so just testing out how fast these phones are taking pictures. Alright, so clearly the Galaxy a little bit fast taking pictures. Alright guys, fingerprint scanner next. Now personally speaking, I definitely prefer the placement on the Sony, which is on the side, the Galaxy's on the back. And it is a bit tricky to actually do this. Alright guys, so I'm finally, after like a couple minutes trying, getting a little bit of a rhythm here. Yeah, I very rarely use the Galaxy with my left hand, but it is extremely awkward hitting that fingerprint scanner button right there. But I think, you know guys, obviously there's no contest in terms of how comfortable it is. But in terms of speed, let me know in the comments. Alright guys, and last we got multitasking. And before that, quick recap of the specs. So, largest screen on the Galaxy, 6.2 inches or 5.0 for the Xperia. High resolution on the Galaxy, 509 pixels per inch, Sony 441. Front facing camera, do prefer the Sony on this, 13 megapixels versus on the Galaxy 8. Rear facing camera on the Sony, 23 megapixels, on the Galaxy is 12. Now, internal storage on the Sony, either 32 or 64 gigabytes, on the Galaxy 64. Both phones do have micro SD card support. Battery on the Sony, not that impressive. It's 2700 capacity. On the Galaxy 3500. Sony Snapdragon 23 GB of RAM. Galaxy Snapdragon 35 and 4 GB of RAM. Now, Sony has stereo speakers. Galaxy does not, although Galaxy speakers do get louder. Both phones waterproof. Both fingerprint scanners. Micro USB for the Sony. USB Type-C for the Galaxy. Alright guys, so let's go and test out multitasking. Alright, so you guys see here on the Sony, it is reloading the app. Now, a lot of the more recent Sony phones don't do this. For example, the XCS very rarely reloads this. But you guys see the Performance is reloading it. Let's do a few more and give my final thoughts. BBC News. Alright, so this one clearly going to the Galaxy. Alright, funny. Again, pretty easy win there for the Galaxy. YouTube. Alright, so obviously something a bit wrong there with the YouTube reloading, but Sony pretty easy winning it. Alright, let's do eBay next. Alright, so this one going to Sony. Asphalt 8. So again, on the X Performance is reloading, on the Galaxy it's not. And just a couple more and I'll give my final thoughts. Alright, let's do ESPN. Alright, it's Galaxy there. Photos. Galaxy there. Chrome. Pretty fast on both. I think maybe a tiny advantage there for the Galaxy. And last, well, we'll do a couple more. Let's do Chrome, or rather camera. And then let's try to rerun Temple Run 2. Now, sometimes the Sony, like I'm sure when I do it this time, it probably is going to just go right to title screen. Yeah, so as you guys see right there. Ditto. Alright, so now I'm going to Sony. So overall, guys, especially in terms of gaming, you will get a little bit better performance with Galaxy. However, the Sony Xperia performance still did win some categories, which is really, really impressive considering the phone is 1 year old. So guys, on the Galaxy S8 Plus, you do have a lot of advantages. For example, the screen's definitely better. The design's better as well, in my opinion. Also, the battery's better. You have the Snapdragon 835. And you also have USB Type-C. However, that said, guys, the Sony Xperia performance for being 1 year old still has some advantages. For example, the front-facing camera is better. The rear-facing camera, in terms of video, is better. So if you're into recording a lot of video, I do prefer the Sony there. But here is the #1 advantage that the X Performance has over the Galaxy, and that is a couple weeks ago it was going for $300 brand new on Amazon. I mean, the Galaxy is like $900, so you're talking about 1/3 the price for the Sony Xperia Performance. So yeah, guys, I mean, really amazing value there for the X Performance. And I will say, for Sony Xperia Performance, in terms of flagship phones, I don't think it's up to speed with some of the other ones. For example, the XZS, the XZ, they just seem more polished. I have less issues with them. Whereas with the X Performance, I do occasionally have some issues. Does have some bad battery drains with the phone. But all that said, guys, Sony Xperia Performance is 1/3 the price. So all things considered, I think it did pretty well during the speed test. Alright guys, I have a lot more comparisons of both these phones planned. And that includes stuff like camera tests, battery life, and more. And I also have the Sony Xperia XZ Premium coming in a couple weeks. So if you want to check all that out, subscribe in the top left corner. Or if you want, you can check out the channel, check out another video right now in the bottom right. Alright guys, thanks again for watching.